That's all it is.
It's Tiffy time.
And that is all it's going to be.
Toodles!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, J.J. Williams. Happy Wednesday. Got a lot of stuff going on in the world of wrestling right now, as everybody knows. Last night's NXT was no exception. It was a really good show as we continued our build towards NXT deadline, as the simple man Noah Foster likes to put it. Curious to know your guys' thoughts, so feel free to comment along. As always, super chats will catch my eye, but just going to get on through these things. The show opened up with the D'Angelo family taking on Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. And this was just some fantastic tag team action to kind of kick off the show and get things rolling. Very fast-paced, very action-packed, like you would assume and expect from these four gentlemen. Garza and Carrillo took it to the D'Angelo family in the very early goings. But at the end of the day, the family was able to turn the tide, pick up the W, retain the NXT Tag Team Championships. Not a whole lot of surprise there, especially with the rumors swirling that Santos Escobar may be recruiting Garza and Carrillo to be part of the new Legado del Fantasma to go up against the Latino World Order. So if all that's going to happen, you can't put the NXT tag titles on them. You know, at the end of the day, we only really have one person on the main roster with an NXT title, and that's Dom, and it works for Dom. We can't have a whole bunch of people on the main roster holding NXT titles. Even Becky's reign was very short-lived. It was all just about making Lyra Valkyria. We then go backstage, and we see Nathan Frazier and Axiom, and they're kind of talking about the video packages that aired last week that kind of chronicled Ilya Dragunov and Baron Corbin and their different lifestyles and everything, and how Dragunov has been stateside away from his family for years, doesn't get to see him, only gets to talk to them like this via like a video screen, while Corbin has been on the main roster for the years. He's made a nice chunk of change for himself. He's established some wealth. He's got a fancy house, fancy cars, and all that stuff. He's got his family home with him. And Frazier and Axiom are kind of talking about, you know, how Corbin's life is the life they want to live. They want to have that type of stuff. Ilya comes in and he confronts Frazier, and he keeps making Nathan Frazier kind of trip over his words. You know, Frazier and Dragunov have been friends in the past, but everything that he tries to get across, Ilya just like flips it on him. And we end up setting up a match later on in the evening of Nathan Frazier versus Ilya Dragunov. We then had a video package from Jerry the King Lawler. It was good to see the King, just like it's good to be the King. King's looking in good health considering everything that happened to him either late last year, early this year. I forget when he had, I think it was a heart attack or a stroke. But he was in the hospital, but he's looking really good. I want to say it was just before Mania this year that he had health issues, because everyone was hoping he would be at the Hall of Fame to induct Andy Kaufman this year. And we had to do his speech, you know, and his induction speech from home via satellite. But Jerry Lawler made his choices for the Iron Survivor matches. For the men, he picked the badass Braun Breaker to take on Eddie Thorpe. Of course, Eddie Thorpe's been kind of making a name for himself, trying to get noticed, trying to get that momentum and hype behind him. For the women, he chose Kehlani Jordan and Kiana James. And both matches seem very interesting. We're going to get to those in a little bit. Then we start getting video packages of some of the main roster people that are coming back for the main event tonight and their runs as the North American champion. Because Wesley has to take on 3 former North American champions in this episode in order to get a shot at Dirty Dominic Mysterio at Deadline. He's got to take on Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, and Cameron Grimes. So we get a little video package of Johnny Gargano, and we see his history with the North American title. Kind of, I wasn't watching the Black and Gold NXT, so I know very little about Gargano's run and his history with the title. So this is good. This is a way to kind of introduce me to that era of Johnny wrestling and why it's important that he's in this match. We then go to Briggs, Jensen, and Fallon Henley all backstage. And they're talking about, how Briggs qualified for the Iron Survivor. Fallon wasn't so lucky, but Jensen got completely overlooked. Not even an opportunity to compete in Iron Survivor. And Lexis King, the former Brian Pillman Jr., comes in and he kind of stirs the pot up a little bit there. And we end up getting a match set up between Jensen and Lexis King, with the whole motivation being that they want Jensen to prove to the Hall of Famers why he should have been in consideration for that match. We then get our second official match of the night, and it's an Iron Survivor qualifying match. We get Kehlani Jordan versus Kiana James. And this is just a banger. Tremendous action from both these women. Kiana James continues to impress me with every single match, and Kehlani has got a very, very bright future ahead of her. We see Nikita Lyons in the crowd before the match. They mention how she's on the road back. She's almost at 100%. So we could be seeing the return of Nikita Lyons really, really soon to NXT. Roxanne Perez comes out, and the crowd sees her and begins to chant for her before the camera picks her up. So a little bit of a spoiler there, bad timing. But Roxanne Perez rings the timekeeper's bell, which distracts Kiana James, who, if you remember, Kiana James cost Roxy her Iron Survivor qualifier match. And Kehlani Jordan is able to get the win off of the distraction here. Very well done. Great way to play everything up. Great way to get Kehlani Jordan into the match while making it believable. Great way to further the story between Kiana and Roxy. We find out later on in the evening that there's going to be last chance matches next week where the 4 losers of the men's and the women's matches are going to have an opportunity to qualify to be the 5th spot in Iron Survivor. Personally, I don't think Kiana or Roxy are going to win that match. I think they're both going to lose because they're going to be so focused on each other, and we may end up getting a one-on-one at Deadline between those 2 women to further their storyline. At least that's what I would do. We then had another video package This one was for Cameron Grimes, showing his history with the North American title. And then we go to Alpha Academy. Looked like they were backstage at Raw, so a pre-tape segment. And they talk about the match that Chad Gable had against Noam Dar the week prior for the Heritage Cup, and how everybody saw Noam Dar tap out, even though it was after the bell. So they issue a challenge. 3-on-3 mixed tag match for next week. And they say that they want their answer by the end of the night. We then get a video shown from the NXT Anonymous Twitter feed. And we see Lexis Keene following Trick Williams on the night that he was attacked, leading us to believe that it was Lexis Keene who initiated the attack on Trick Williams that evening. We then see Andre Chase and the rest of Chase U, JC Jane, Thea Hale, Duke Hudson. And Andre Chase gives a press conference, if you will, where he speaks on the scandal and the allegations that have come out against him and Chase U. Apparently, there's a misappropriation of funds and gambling scandal. They don't directly say, but possibly tied to the tag title match that they had against the D'Angelo family, where Chase U became champions. And Andre Chase says that the allegations are true. He promises to repay the debt that the university owes and restore the honorable name of Chase University. We then get our other Iron Survivor qualifying match, Braun Breaker versus Eddie Thorpe. It was a decent match, but way too predictable. Eddie Thorpe made a valiant effort, but there was no way that Braun Breaker was not going to win this match. Last year, come Iron Survivor, Breaker was the champion. He didn't get to compete in it. This year, Breaker's going into the Iron Survivor. Period, point blank, it makes a lot of sense. We then had Trick Mellow Game backstage, and the question is asked of if you saw the video. And of course, both men saw the video, and Trick is hot about it, but he wants to try to play his role smart. While it seems like Mello wants to go smashing and breaking things and out for vengeance, and very, very much coming off as the heel here, going back to wanting to be heel Mello, while Trick wants to be smart about it and stay on the babyface side of things. Where is that going to lead Trick Mellow Game in the future? We're just going to have to keep watching and find out. But it's going to be interesting because Trick is qualified for Iron Survivor. Mello was one of the losers. So Mello gets last chance next week. We'll have to see what happens there. We then go into the women's locker room, and Roxanne Perez says that if she can't be in the Iron Survivor match, neither can Kiana. And it's at this point that Ava Raine, who we haven't seen on TV since the schism completely fell, the roots of the tree were chopped down. But Ava Raine points out about the last chance matches. This is where we first learn about them. And she says that she overheard Shawn Michaels talking about last chance matches next week. Kiana James comes in, and the two women begin to brawl, and they will proceed to brawl all over the arena throughout the course of the evening. We then get a video package for Bronson Reed about his history with the North American title and everything. Again, very well done. Bronson Reed comes from an era of NXT I'm not familiar with, so seeing him and his presentation was very good. The only North American champion, other than Wesley, of course, that was in this match that I was familiar with his history was Cameron Grimes. So again, these other two video packages, the one for Gargano and the ones for Reed, giving me their history with that championship, make me understand why they are important figures in the history of the North American title. We've always discussed how WWE does their video packages and their presentations, and they are the best when it comes to that. I give AEW credit, they're getting better, but still got a long way to go. Jeff is finally here. Stupid traffic. Yeah, I get you, brother. It's all good. I appreciate you being here. We then had Ilya Dragunov versus Nathan Frazier. And this was a South Park match. And what I mean by that is, oh my God, they killed Frazier, you bastards. Ilya basically murdered Nathan Frazier in this match. Poor Frazier, he tried to get some offense, but every twist and turn, Ilya just shut him down. Ilya gives Frazier an H-bomb. 1, 2, and he sits him up. 2 more H-bombs follow for a total of 3 consecutive H-bombs before Ilya finally is willing to take the pinfall and end the match. Definitely some heel tactics here by Ilya. I don't know if I want him to go full-blown heel. I like Ilya as a babyface, but this intensity is just nerve-wracking. I am curious to see where it goes, if this was a one-time deal, if it was a test of the waters to see if the crowd will respond to him in this way. We'll have to see come next week, and even more so, we'll have to see come deadline. We then had an interview backstage with Lyra Valkyria about deadline, and Fallon Henley comes in and says that she is going to make the most of her second chance. And Lyra says that if you win, I look forward to competing against you. This is a match that I've wanted. And we see a figure in the background, a female figure kind of pops out and makes herself seen, but we can't really get a good visual on who it is. If I'm being honest, it kind of looked like Wendy Chu to me, but in a new, darker, not so stupid of a gimmick. Wendy Chu's been out of action almost as long as Nikita Lyons. And we saw Nikita in the crowd earlier, as I mentioned. So it would be interesting if this was a repackaged Wendy Chu coming back right around the same time as Nikita. We then got a video for Carmen Petrovich showing her background, trying to hype her up, her martial arts. She's a girl that I'm very impressed with. And I see big things for her once they decide to really go all in on her. We then got a video promo from the Metaphor. They accept the Alpha Academy challenge, so we know it'll be Noam Dar, Oro Mensah, and Lash Legend for the Metaphor. Jakara Jackson will not be in the match. What we don't know is, other than Maxine, who will be representing the Alpha Academy. Will it be Gable and Otis? Will it be Gable and Tozawa? Will it be Otis and Tozawa? We're not sure, but we know Maxine will be in there for the women because it is a mixed tag match. As she made it known in her promo, she wanted a piece of Lash Legend. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that match next week. And if it is Gable, and if Gable can pin Noam in the match, I'm almost certain we will more than likely get a rematch at deadline for the Heritage Cup. We then had a Joe Gacy promo and he's under the ring. As he's cutting his promo, we can see the back of the ring apron. I don't know what's going on with Joe Gacy. He has lost his ever-loving mind ever since the schism devolved. And again, to use the pun I used earlier when talking about Ava, when the tree got chopped down, Noah talks about how Tony Storm, timeless Tony, has lost her ever-loving mind. No, Joe Gacy has gone batshit fucking crazy. And I'm kind of here for it because we always thought of Gacy as like this cult leader, this Manson-esque gimmick. So to see him kind of losing his shit like this, I feel works with that in an evolution of the gimmick. But where is he going to go? I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Joe Gacy. We then had a match with Carmen Petrovich as she took on Ariana Grace, of course, Santino Marella's daughter. It was a good women's match, nowhere near as good as Kaylani versus Kiana at the start of the show. Gacy emerged from under the ring and stole the timekeeper's bell during the match. The match continued. Ariana Grace won, and then when it was time to ring the bell to end the match, Gacy rings the bell from within the crowd with just the sick, sadistic smile on his face. We then had Wes Lee backstage talking about how his opportunity is in front of him and how badly he wants a shot at Dominic Mysterio. And he praises the competition that he's got to get through to get there. It was a typical babyface promo on the heels of going into a major match. Nothing to write home about, but it was still good. We then got Brooks Jensen versus Lexis Keene. Again, this was a decent match. I was hoping for a little bit more out of Lexis Keene in this one. Mello caused a distraction, allowing Keene to pick up the win. Again, going back to the whole promo and Mello kind of teasing the desire to go heel again here. Was it intentional? Was it unintentional? He kind of wants to get Lexis Keene for attacking Trick, but does he really? Is he working with Lexis Keene? Did he set up Lexis Keene? If you go back to the whole Stone Cold attack, when Rikishi ran him down, we found out it was Triple H that put him up to it. Did Carmelo put Lexis Keene up to attacking Trick? Is that how we're going to tie him into all this? Going to have to see how the storyline develops, but they're keeping me on the edge of my seat with how they're going to get through the next chapter of the story, and that's the key to good storytelling. Main event was Wes Lee versus Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes versus Johnny Gargano, and if Wes Lee wins, he gets a shot at Dirty Dominic Mysterio at Deadline for the North American title. If he loses, he cannot challenge for the North American title for as long as Dom is champ. Again, we knew this was going to be a predictable match. We knew we were going to get a victory from Wes here, so we could move to Deadline and see if Wes Lee could finally get back his title and topple Dominic Mysterio. Will he be the first domino in the Judgment Day to fall and begin to knock over all the rest? Although it was predictable, it was still a fantastic match. Bronson Reed moves around that ring in ways that a man of his size shouldn't. Very comparable to Samoa Joe. If they've never met before down in the black and gold NXT, I would love to see a Bronson Reed versus Samoa Joe match. I think that would be a dream match because both those guys are, the epitome of it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. Both of them move way faster than they should for a big man. Both of those guys take some high risks that big men their size shouldn't do. Bronson was very impressive here. Gargano showed why he was Johnny Wrestling, why he was Johnny Takeover, why he was Johnny NXT. Put on a great showing. It was so much fun seeing Cameron Grimes back in my NXT as he got drafted earlier this year. Big fan of Cameron Grimes. All four men showed up and showed out. Fantastic match again. Wesley picked up the W as we knew that he would. And then before the show goes off, we see Roxy and Kiana James brawling out in the parking lot, an extension of the brawl of theirs that started in the locker room area. As again, both those women are going to be a part of the Iron Survivor Last Chance match that will be next week on NXT. All in all, it was a really good show. I thought that everything pretty much went the way that it needed to go. Storylines advanced properly. Next week will be the go home show to Deadline. So it should be another fun one. I know that the last chance matches will be phenomenal. I'm wondering if they will do them as fatal four ways or if they'll do them almost in tournament style and have two competitors versus two competitors, and the winners of those matches face later in the night to see who's going to go on to Deadline, or if they're going to do like a fatal four-way. Either way would be fine by me. I think I almost would book it as a tournament because then you get some more matches on the card. You're guaranteed to have 6 matches plus the Metaphor Alpha Academy match. That's 7 matches just on an episode of NXT television. Maybe that seems like too much for 2 hours, but I feel like if done properly, then it could be done very, very well. Because you just get that slow burn through the evening to set everything up. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Jeff says Dom almost has to lose at this point. No, he already fell to Orton on Raw after Dev McDonough got rocked. So the loss of the North American title can move the story even further. I agree. Honestly, depending on when they do the match, I'm wondering if Priest and Balor will lose their titles first. Because the Creeds won the match. They are number 1 contenders. If they get that match on Raw, we could have the Creeds topple Priest and Balor. Then we could have Wes Lee topple Dom. And all that leaves is Mommy and Senior Money in the Bank with his briefcase. And that's how the Judgment Day just starts to collapse. Like a big old game of Jenga, you pull that one piece. Curious to know everyone else's thoughts. King Mike's in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you finally pop in, or at least finally comment. I think all Judgment Day loses except for Rhea, and she demands her leadership spot, possibly. Just as then Mommy truly is the only one on top, at least with the title anyways. Exactly. Well, that is just about it for the NXT recap. I am going to do what I always do. I am going to give a quick 40-second commercial. I am going to show you all the friends of the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse, where you can follow them on their social medias, whether it's TikTok, Twix, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube. Check out the video, screenshot the people that you're not following so that you know where to follow them. Show them some love. Give them those likes, subscribes, follows. We'll be back in about 35 seconds. So there you go. That is where you can find NoDQ.com, James Hebert, Noah Foster, Statboy Mike, Statgirl Dory Lou, Big G, Josh Mansfield, Datilla, Jeff Meacham, myself, and so many others. Want to make sure to get out there, go back to last night, check out Noah and I for 3 hours. A simple take went a little bit longer than simple. We discussed Full Gear and Survivor Series, our final thoughts. Make sure you guys tune in tonight for the Greg Cherry Show. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for Talk Wrestling, live from the Disney properties here in sunny, but not exactly warm Southern California. You can see whatever Jeff has got to discuss there. Yeah, exactly. Simple takes aren't staying so simple. You know how it is when you get Noah to start discussing wrestling. So, yeah. And apparently it's supposed to rain down at Disney tomorrow. So, boo. All in all, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys start showing NXT some love. It may not be the black and gold of old, but it's a lot better than people give it credit for, and it deserves a little bit of love and respect. Until tomorrow, right here on For the Love of Wrestling, when I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite, same bad time, same bad channel. I am, of course, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.